A hunter stalks his prey at night. When the right moment arrives, he releases a shot. The arrow flies fast and hits the unsuspecting animal, surprising it. An animal suddenly fled, creating chaos. A hunter shouted for Johann to be careful. Johann prepared to shoot and successfully targeted his prey, but a problem arose. His bow nearly broke from being pulled too hard. He needed to learn proper technique, not just relying on strength. Once the situation was safe, they realized Johann's technique was flawed. He was relying on excessive force instead of proper skill. Johann admitted he was inexperienced and simply imitating incorrect hunting methods. He realized that to become a true hunter, he had to learn proper technique, not just relying on strength. The world remains harsh and unfair. He understands that strength and skill can be honed through struggle, and that failure is part of the process of becoming stronger. However, amidst these reflections, a far more pressing issue arises, a real danger looming before their eyes. Johann and his companions suddenly become aware of a pack of wolves stalking them. The situation shifts from mere reflection to immediate threat. This world feels all too real, not just a dream or fantasy, like a brutal medieval era. Violence and death are commonplace, and even death offers no peace. Johann lives in a cruel world, where survival requires being prepared for danger at all times. Johann and his friends talked about the uncertainty of this world. No one knows what the future holds. But one thing was clear: the weak will become prey to the strong. He understood that to survive and become stronger, he needed one very basic thing: money. Money was the key to growing, buying equipment, and increasing his strength. Johann remembered his initial hope upon arriving in this world. He wanted to gain extraordinary power. But the reality was different. Without money, he couldn't take any step. How he learned to survive through hardship. Now, his focus is only one: money. His colleague also discovered a rare flower called the little devil growing between tree trunks. They were discussing a rare plant or herb that might be worth a fortune. Johann appeared calm, even smiling, as if confident in his discovery. But the atmosphere changed when one of them noticed something. Johann accidentally dropped something. Tensions escalated as they became aware of the screams, panic, and ominous premonition of impending danger. Screams for mercy were heard. Johann and his friends, witnessing the incident, immediately rushed towards the source of the screams. The noise in the forest had attracted the attention of a dangerous creature. A stranger screamed for help, panicked and terrified, hoping someone would be nearby. Brutally, their numbers far exceeded expectations. Tensions rose as the pack closed in from the darkness. Realizing they couldn't fight them all, they decided to retreat and flee. Johann moved quickly, trying to draw the wolves' attention so the others could escape. Using a simple yet risky strategy, one distracts, the others flee, they tried to outlast the rampaging pack. He quickly counted the number of enemies. At least 10 wolves surrounded him. Instead of panicking, Johann accepted the situation as an opportunity. Johann prepares to face the pack of wolves alone, shouting his determination with madness and courage, marking a crucial moment of change for him. Johann suddenly attacks with a never-before-seen sword technique, stunning his teammates. His movements are fast, precise, and deadly. Johann demonstrates that he is no longer just bait or an amateur hunter. He possesses real fighting ability that has been hidden all this time. The fight culminated when a large wolf leaped and attacked Johann from the air. The attack narrowly missed him, creating a moment of panic. Johann attempted to block and counterattack, but the situation escalated. Johann couldn't avoid the fatal attack. Johann was thrown hard, prompting his teammates to scream frantically for his name. Johann's fate was uncertain, creating tension and concern about his survival. Johann, despite being injured and in imminent danger, was still able to react. He blocked and countered attacks with increasingly sharp movements. Amid the chaos, he realized something. This fight had actually helped him understand how to fight without a sword. Johann took down a wolf firmly and declared his resolve. He would fight on his own terms. Fear had turned to conviction. For Johann, the wolves were no longer just a threat, but a source of money, a bounty that could be traded for survival. He had to become a hunter. With a sharp gaze, Johann reiterated his purpose. He needed money, and prepared to face the rest of the wolf pack alone. The wolf pack charged Johann simultaneously. He reaffirmed his resolve. He had to survive for the money. In the midst of the attack, Johann unleashed strength beyond the limits of a normal human. Each punch and slash carried incredible destructive power, sending the wolves flying and collapsing. The sight stunned those who witnessed it. Johann was now displaying truly extraordinary strength, marking a significant leap in his combat abilities. Johann launched a flurry of attacks with extreme power and speed. Each blow shattered the approaching wolves, splattering blood across the battlefield. The once dominant pack was now in disarray. Johann moved without hesitation, dispatching his enemies one by one. The tide of battle had completely turned. Johann became the one feared, no longer the hunted. Johann's strength astonished those who witnessed it. It seemed impossible for mere mortals. The last of the wolves fell without a fight. Johann smiled in admiration to himself. His first thought wasn't fear or regret, but a practical question: how much was all this kill worth? Even in human society, Johann found no peace. He witnessed and experienced oppression by those in positions of power above him. Power abused, the weak humiliated, exploited, and beaten mercilessly. This realization shaped his resolve. If he wanted to survive, he would have to become stronger and more ruthless than the world that oppressed him. No one would care. He had no one to trust but himself. Fortunately, Johann had a significant advantage over the rest of the world. His modern knowledge, from economics and politics to physiology and social psychology to nutrition, to his work and hunting experiences in his previous life, was invaluable. As a result, Johann's mind was filled with random knowledge that was actually very useful. He decided to use all the knowledge he had to survive. He began by training his body independently, despite the harsh conditions and limited food. He implemented a nutritionally based diet, combined efficient physical training and martial arts moves from modern knowledge, and forged himself with discipline and knowledge. Johann's training reached extreme levels. He slammed into trees and trained relentlessly, pushing his body beyond its limits. Every blow and impact strengthened his muscles and endurance. The harder he trained, the greater the results. Johann's body grew rapidly, gaining strength that felt almost inhuman. He recognized the changes with satisfaction. Years of brutal training and discipline had forged him into a figure far stronger than before. Johann stood in the midst of a forest devastated by his brutal training, pushing his body to its limits. No one knew if his newfound strength was a blessing from years of training, and now he seemed to have defeated the entire wolf pack single-handedly. Joseph then helped the boy, doing so in his own best interest as the village chief responsible for the villagers. Joseph harshly reprimanded Johann for his reckless behavior, reminding him that his life could be lost at any moment. But Johann ignored him and was busy counting his catch. Johann ensures Dell is safe and thanks him for his help. Dell appears shocked and nervous, not yet fully aware of what is happening. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts dramatically. From the darkness emerges a terrifying aura, an invisible pressure that silences everyone. A blackish-red energy envelopes the area, emitting a highly dangerous presence. Johann, Joseph, and Dell are all shocked. They sense that this is no ordinary threat. The scene ends on a high note, signaling the emergence of a new enemy or entity far more terrifying than before. Out of the darkness emerged a giant, red-eyed wolf with a terrifying aura, distinctly different from the previous monsters. Its pressure filled everyone with fear. Joseph realized this was no threat they could face. But instead of panicking, Johann stepped forward and calmly challenged the creature, asking if it was the leader of the pack. Standing alone before the pack leader, Johann exuded a deadly aura. He admitted he had killed many wolves, and the creature clearly saw him as worthy prey. The pressure of the monster's gaze was palpable and intimidating. Despite his fear, Johann remained calm. He realized his presence had caught the pack leader's attention, not as a mere victim, but as a worthy opponent. The giant wolf attacked brutally, charging at Johann without hesitation. Johann pushed aside his fear, and the fight erupted with incredible speed and power. He struck back, grabbing a chunk of rock to attack. The fight became increasingly brutal, and Johann managed to injure the monster. He realized one crucial thing. He couldn't let his guard down for even a second. Johann continued to hold back his attacks, trying not to take down this prized prey prematurely. The lead wolf went berserk, roaring in rage, displaying its full strength and ferocity. The monster's repeated attacks left his body and breathless. Pain piled up in his ears. They felt the same as Johann. As the pressure continued to pound, he realized his energy was nearly exhausted and his body's limits had been exceeded. Johann woke up, startled, still alive but confused. As the dust settled, he realized something new had just appeared and happened. Gasping for breath and a confused mind, Johann wondered, what just happened? That monster. The red wolf disappeared. The threat was gone. Johann checked the situation and realized everyone was safe, though still shocked and confused by what had just happened. Amidst the exhaustion and the silence of the night, Johann felt a mixture of feelings, relief that they were safe. Then he left, carrying Joseph and Dell, who were still unconscious. In the end, they all returned to the village safely, but exhausted because they had faced a real, major threat. Suddenly, something disrupted the village atmosphere. Johann reacted in confusion and shock. A grown man harshly rebuked Johann, accusing him of being irresponsible for missing his father's inspection day. Johann suddenly realized this and immediately panicked. He realized he had indeed forgotten this important obligation. Johann had just realized that his father's inspection day was today, and his tardiness was considered a form of disobedience. Johann's father finally showed up. The situation that day was chaotic and unavoidable, but Johann remained silent, displaying a cold and distant attitude. He felt harassed and disrespected. Johann then explained what really happened. He and Dell were surrounded by many monsters, and in order to save Dell, Johann chose to fight alone and draw the monsters away. Joseph hugged him while crying with relief, grateful that Dell was okay. Johann is ready to be punished and will admit his mistakes. He accepts the punishment by bowing his head and promising to be more respectful to his father who comes for inspection next time. A crucial question arises. Where did the wolves that Johann caught go? Johann looks nervous but remains calm, indicating that there is a secret that he has not revealed. Johann insisted on telling the truth, that he had indeed encountered a giant black wolf. However, his statement only angered his father, who accused him of lying. This anger escalated to threats of violence. To prove his innocence, Johann challenged him to a duel, calmly stating that he would prove his worth in person. The duel was set with strict rules, not a fist fight, but rather a sword fight. Johann's opponent deliberately chose this rule to pressure him. This situation put him at a significant disadvantage, as he was less skilled with a sword. The duel soon began, and Johann was forced to draw his sword, but all he held was a broken sword, making him realize how unequal the fight was. As the tension mounted, his brother stepped forward, telling him to apologize immediately. But he refused and insisted on taking his brother's sword for the duel. Johann faces the duel as a direct test of his self-worth. Despite the danger, he sees it as an opportunity. If he wins, his abilities will be recognized by the villagers and his father, who has always underestimated him. Determined, Johann vows to prove his worth to everyone, even if it means facing great risk. His father sees a terrifying aura emanating from Johann, a terrifying aura or presence that leaves his father shocked and terrified. Amidst the clash of weapons, Johann launched a swift and brutal attack, a murderous aura far surpassing that of any ordinary human. The pressure disorganized his father's movements and shook his fighting instincts. He exploited the opening created by his opponent's fear. His attack penetrated the defense and struck hard, leaving both him and his opponent stunned and cornered. Johann's furious father attacked him with murderous intent, insulting him as an insect for daring to resist. His sword slash was utterly deadly. Johann barely reacted. He managed to dodge the brutal attack, shocked by his father's obvious hatred and murderous intent. The villagers were shocked, realizing that he would not stop, even after Johann was cornered. The barrage of attacks continued relentlessly until they reached a desperate situation. He seemed utterly exhausted, barely dodging his father's attacks, and could only defend himself without attacking. Johan's father was losing control. He shouted that no matter how strong Johan was, he would still be no match for him. Obsessively, his father insisted that this inheritance belonged to him, and no one, not even the emperor, had the right to take it, least of all Johan. Meanwhile, Johan was beginning to feel physically overwhelmed. His body was shaking, his wounds were worsening, and he realized he was bleeding profusely. Although he was still standing, his condition was clearly at its limit. His father finally ended the fight with one decisive strike, his weapon hitting its target. The move was swift, sharp, and left no room for counterattack. Amidst the shock of everyone watching, Johan blocked his father's axe attack with great force. But the attack was so powerful that he couldn't withstand it, and his sword broke. Johan lay on the ground, exhausted and wounded after a fierce battle. The powerful figure stood before him with a condescending gaze, reiterating that he should never cross him. If Johan dared to stand in his way once more, he would not hesitate to kill him. The threat was more than mere words. It was clear that Johan's life was truly worthless. After leaving Johan on the ground, the man left with his men. Johan could only hang his head, silent and helpless, swallowing the pain, anger, and humiliation. A priest, Valberga, and other citizens raised their voices, questioning how a knight, especially a father, could go so far against his own son. They believed a knight's honor and morals had been violated. Amidst the criticism, Johan remained calm and composed. He stated that he was fine and dismissed the incident as nothing to be fancied about. Johan began to accept the reality of his life in this world. He realized that despite his modern knowledge and rigorous training, the world was still dangerous and filled with people with abilities beyond reason, including his father. His previous victories against monsters were no guarantee of his strength. Defeating a giant wolf or a wild beast was no match for facing a seasoned knight, one like his father, who could defeat 300 serf levy single-handedly. Johan was questioned by the priest about the incident in the forest. He claimed to have seen and encountered a giant black wolf, and confirmed that Del and Joseph had also witnessed it. Upon hearing this, the priest was shocked and prayed, realizing that this was no ordinary occurrence. The priest then explained the terrifying truth. The black wolf was no mere monster, but a legendary creature long recorded in church scriptures. The creature was known as the Black Wolf, and among the clergy, it was called the harbinger of death, a symbol of disaster and death that rarely appeared but always brought heavy casualties. The priest explained that according to ancient records, the Black Wolf had been missing for hundreds of years. Every time it appeared in the past, blood was spilled everywhere and villages were destroyed, making it a symbol of doom. Johan, being rational, said he wasn't particularly superstitious, then asked if the Black Wolf's appearance today could be just a coincidence. The priest didn't dismiss the possibility, even reassuring Johan not to think too much about it. The priest then confirmed that the Black Wolf was probably just an old legend. He added that perhaps God was protecting Johan, as he was a kind-hearted and good-minded man. Meanwhile, near Castle 8, Baron Britz's domain, the atmosphere had drastically changed, becoming tense. In the darkness of the night, panicked screams and pleas for mercy could be heard. Someone screamed in terror, begging for rescue, confessing their wrongdoing. In the middle of a night filled with fire and blood, a brutal massacre unfolded. The victims screamed in terror, begging for mercy, but it was all in vain. The attack was swift and deadly. Blood spurted, bodies fell, and the sound of resistance was quickly drowned out. The attacker coldly taunted him, asserting that escape was futile and that death awaited him. The atrocities they committed were cold and remorseless. They agreed to kill everyone in the area and then burn the bodies to leave no evidence. They reported to Lord Carmen that the clearing of the area was complete and presented the Brits family's signet ring as proof of total destruction. Carmen responded coldly, uttering Britz's name without emotion. He admitted to having had expectations due to reports that one man was capable of single-handedly killing 300 soldiers, but the target fell too easily, barely even withstanding 2 attacks. Lord Carmen asserts his absolute authority as the sword of the empire, acting directly on the emperor's orders. He declares himself the one who seized and wields the signet ring, the symbol of legitimacy. In the name of His Majesty's will, Carmen announces that he will punish any nobles deemed disobedient and sternly warns anyone who follows the emperor to submit unconditionally. He promises glory and gold to those who obey, but utter destruction to those who defy. His final order is brutal and clear: kill, loot, and burn everything, and then he orders the advance. This scene underscores the ruthless nature of the empire, power exercised through terror, rewards, and merciless extermination.